Hello and welcome to episode 194, just six away from the giant 200 of Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason.
I'm Bill, and we're really seeing the impact of COVID this week.
Yes, we are.
Our Steeler game postponed twice, and I don't know if we're actually going to get to see a game on Tuesday night or not. There's just too many players infected.
And it's interesting to see, like, if they play Tuesday, then what do you do with both those two teams moving forward as far as their schedule goes? Because it'd be unfair to have them.
I know they moved the Thursday night game that the Ravens were supposed to play already to another Monday night game.
Right. And I think to be fair, you have to put the Steelers.
You and I talked about it 6 weeks ago, if not longer, that they should just add a couple extra weeks to the season in case they needed them, rather than trying to do this messed up thing they're trying to do now.
Yeah.
I mean, having the Broncos play with none of their quarterbacks. I realize the Broncos aren't going anywhere, but still, it's not NFL quality product.
No. Although we are excited to see PJ Watt. Is it PJ?
Yeah, because he looked good. He looked good for Orlando.
Yeah. But
he was definitely the best quarterback in that league.
But that's not how you want to see him get his debut as a receiver on the practice squad, now having to come in and start against a really good New Orleans Saints defense. Like, that's not an ideal way for a guy to get his NFL debut.
No, but I bet he's thrilled to be a quarterback instead of wide receiver.
Oh, I'm sure. And, this is his chance of a lifetime. And, some people get multiple chances. Some people get that one. And this is at least one, So,
yeah.
I'm rooting for him. Don't tell my fellow New Orleans people.
I'll be that game on thanks for TV.
Yeah.
So how are you feeling about the big matchup today between Brady and Mahomes?
Well, obviously, selfishly as a Steeler fan, I want to see Brady and that team do work. We both picked Tampa Bay to do good things this season.
Yeah, and the reason they haven't been as good as I thought they'd be is because he's had some rough games. Because people, we said for years, if you can knock him off this spot, that's how you beat him. Well, I guess he's old enough now that people can finally knock him off this spot.
I think it's a combination of that. I think you got to bring in play calling because they're not able to protect for very long either. And then as people pointed out, he was in the same system with his guys for the longest time. So, like on that, I think some former quarterback, or Nate Burleson, I think we're both talking about, the two picks in the Rams game that looked awful, is that Nate Burleson from a wide receiver position, he's like, on that route, there's two ways you can break on that ball. And if Brady, when it was Julian Edelman and guys he played with forever, he knew that Edelman was always going to break in, shut it short, where Evans took long, broke it out long. So, and again, not to make excuses for Brady, he doesn't need any. He's the GOAT as far as I'm concerned at quarterback. So he's already got that locked down.
But he's actually got better receivers than he's probably ever had in his life.
It's true.
And that's interesting to see.
Well,
so a lot of it is the play calling. And then, his relationship with the coach seems to be tenuous at best.
At best.
Because the coach sure doesn't protect him, and the coach sure isn't hesitant to throw him under the bus.
Well, I'm not sure how much, the coach wanted him as much as he didn't want Jameis Winston. And I definitely, you look at his quotes. We talked about it last week. Like, he went out of his way to talk about how much he did not like Antonio Brown. And now I think Antonio Brown, Antonio Brown has been, decent on the field. You expect more numbers from him, but he's only his fourth week back after 2 years off. But he definitely did not want that guy on his football team.
No.
So I think there is some resentment there. But the good thing is the Chiefs have not been a great defensive team, and they're a slow starting team so far. So maybe this is a chance for the Buccaneers to get right and put some numbers up on the Chiefs. Because you can score on the Chiefs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, like I said, selfish as a Steeler fan, you want to get the Chiefs another loss, especially with the craziness of the schedule. Try to give them that 2-game buffer moving forward on that potential wild card. Although they could also add another. On the bye, they could add another playoff team, is what I've also heard, depending on how things go. I know in the world of fantasy, I think across the board, as people adjust to COVID, like both the leagues I'm in have said we're giving everybody their money back. We'll still play out the season, but we're not going to count this towards a financial fantasy football thing. So I think people are adjusting to the realism of the craziness of COVID NFL.
Yeah, no question.
I watched.
Thinking ahead to the Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes.
Yes.
The Jets.
Well,
the
Adam.
Jaguars.
Yeah. It's hard to imagine.
Be the two front runners, right?
Oh yeah, and the Jets. Adam Gase said he's taking over play calling duties again today, so it's hard to imagine them winning a game.
No.
I feel like they're acting.
The Jaguars have already won one, so, and I don't think they play. So.
No. And Justin Fields looks awesome this year. Let's just throw that out there too. So if that's my consolation prize, I'd be pretty excited about Justin Fields.
Yeah, no question.
And if I'm the Jets, I'm also thinking, people have been telling Trevor Lawrence, if you get drafted by the Jets, don't go. So if I'm the owners of the Jets, I'm making sure that the second, I know they fired Patricia from the Lions, and then Gase is still the coach, but maybe because you want to make sure you get that last. But you can't bring Gase back as your coach. I don't think if the Jets, you can bring your GM back. And I think you've got to show Trevor Lawrence and Trevor Lawrence's people, or Justin Fields' people, whoever you end up taking, that your organization is trying to turn things around and change. Because you don't want him to pull a Manning or an Elway from back in the day and say, I'm just not going.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. And I feel like when those stories start coming out more and more about not going to the Jets, yes, we live in a 24-hour news cycle where people are trying to make headlines, but I also feel like sort of that smoke fire thing where maybe a message is being sent to the Jets. Because I would not want to go play for Adam Gase.
Well, that's going to be a possible. I agree with you. I think he's going to be gone.
Yeah. And you saw some of the things
the Patricia firing, that was going to happen. I was surprised it happened now.
Well, I don't know if I don't think people think Gase is competent, but judging by a lot of the tweets that came out from current and former players, I don't think anybody respected or liked Matt Patricia.
Yeah, he probably had his, he probably was going to try and be the Patriots Midwest. And, maybe he had the reps that pulled some of the stuff that Belichick pulled. So it's tough to say. I agree. Yeah.
And I also feel like watching, due to their success being exposed to Belichick as much as I've been exposed to him, through the media, that I think there's a lot more nuance to a Bill Belichick conversation and coaching than maybe, I think on the surface, I've seen it like in my business, like the assistant director, their job is basically to get people moving. They're the ones calling action. They're the ones sort of moving things along. And they've sort of got to be the babysitters. They've got to let the director know where they're at in the day. And you've kind of got to push people. But it's really easy to go from like dictator that people hate as opposed to the person that's authoritative but people love. And they're happy to work hard for them because they know it's the best thing for them. And I've seen a lot of... It's a fine line.
A lot has to do with results, too.
It does.
And if you continue to follow the dictator and you're not winning games and you don't see you don't have the buy-in, you don't see the reason, it's hard. Yeah, I agree.
But there are certain ADs that when they raise their voice and they have to yell to get things moving, people feel like they respond like they're responding to a disappointed parent. And then when other people do it, it seems like some people don't understand how to do that. And I wonder if Patricia's in that camp of he sees Belichick yelling and stoic and these sorts of things, but he doesn't have, all the other aspects you need to have to it. It's not just that aspect part. There's more to it than that. And I wonder if that's part of what Patricia was.
My last commentary on NFL before we move to college football is, the 49ers, now their next two home games aren't going to be home games. They're going to find somewhere else to play them because Santa Clara County has banned all contact sports.
Yes. Arizona said you can play with us or in our stadium.
Yeah. And I'm sure that'll be what they'll do. They'll go to Arizona, they'll go to Seattle, they'll go to Denver, they'll go to somewhere. But it wasn't California, it was Santa Clara County.
Right. But I would say, and I'm hoping that, I know they talked about playoff bubbles and some other contingency plans, but you look at the way they've handled the 49ers, the Steelers, and the Ravens this week, you hope with, COVID cases on the rise nationally, both Thanksgiving and Christmas bringing people together, whether they should be together or not, is happening. So I hope the NFL has a few more plans in place, a few more contingency plans moving forward, because I think this week is going to become a lot more common over the end of the season, and I hope that they have a better plan than what they've done with the other teams. Like, I'm not saying they're not doing everything they can for safety, but it doesn't seem like what's happening is the best for the product or the players themselves. So,
No. So we were talking last week. We mentioned that we would talk about some playoff possibilities now.
yes,
And so, emerging teams, looks like the Raiders and the Browns both have very good chances to be in playoffs.
very good. They both have, you go back to those cliches of football coaches, but they have identities. Like, both those teams are hard-nosed, run the ball down your throat, play action pass, and then, I think between the two of them, and I don't think anybody would have said this a year ago, but you have much more confidence in Derek Carr than you do in Baker Mayfield.
Yeah. I saw the stat. Baker Mayfield hasn't thrown a touchdown or interception since week 7.
Yeah. And I think that they just know that...
They're throwing less and they're running more.
Right.
And it's working for them with their defense and that, so we'll see. But, we didn't have either the Raiders or the Browns in our playoff picks.
No.
And now it also looks like, the Dolphins are still alive as well. Another team we said we liked, but we weren't picking them to be in the playoffs.
Not this year, no.
No.
And then, then you have the Colts. And I think you can say a lot of what you're saying, or I hear people saying about the Steelers, I think you can say about the Colts, is, they have the older quarterback and they've got some playmakers, but, and I think both those teams are sort of underrated at the same time, even though the Steelers are 10-0. Like, I've seen a lot of national media people just sort of dismiss them. And I think the Colts, it's the same thing. Like, the Colts are 7-3. The Steelers are 10-0. Those are good football teams that play good football. And you can't, it's not like college. You didn't make your own schedule. You play the people put in front of you. And both those teams are winning. They've got good players on both sides of the ball. And,
And they play in a couple weeks, too.
Yeah, that's a game I'm excited to see. And hopefully we get to see both those teams at relatively full strength for an NFL Week 14 game. But
so my feel-good team now that could make the playoffs is the Washington Redskins.
yeah, you mean the Washington Professional Football Team?
That's what I mean, the Football Club of Washington, or whatever it is. But I really like Alex Smith getting a shot of resuming his career, playing well, and leading the team to victory. I really like that story.
And Chase Young has turned out to be an excellent top of the draft pick. He looks awesome.
Yeah, he was all over. He might have started. He looked like he was starting in the backfield the last game.
Oh yeah, I will say
that was a real beatdown of the Cowboys.
And I think I mentioned this before, but I watched the game on Thanksgiving because that's what you do. And I've read the reports, but I watched that Alex Smith little documentary. Like, I'm terrified every time I'm watching play football.
Yeah.
I know they say that it can't, that they can't have this, due to the titanium plates and everything else. But I'm like, they took, muscles from other places, and I heard he can't squeeze his toes like a normal. It's just so weird that he's out there.
Just shows how much he wants to be there.
Yeah. But no, of those,
it's hard to relate to.
They are the team I am rooting for of the 4 terrible teams in the NFC East.
Oh, no question. No question. That would be a really, really feel-good story.
And I don't like the owner, obviously. Nobody does.
I don't like the owner either, but for me, it's an Alex Smith story.
It's an Alex Smith story. And like I said, I like Montez Sweat, Chase Young, Antonio Gibson, like McLaurin. I like a lot of their young guys. I think they're fun to watch. And I should say, going back to the AFC real quick, we just brushed right over Buffalo, also at 7-3.
Yeah.
And, I would say from watching Josh Allen play, he can be the best quarterback in football on a given day, sans Patrick Mahomes. Or he can be pretty terrible. And this year he's been pretty good most of the time. And as people pointed out, you look at the 2 games that they didn't perform well in, they were in, torrential downpour bad weather games. So, you know, maybe the Bills are even better than we think.
And that's another Steeler game coming up.
It is.
In the most competitive division, I guess, it's got to be the NFC West with the Cardinals, the Rams, and the Seahawks.
Yeah, and the Rams just keep winning. So
The Rams keep winning. The Seahawks have shown some vulnerability, especially on defense. And the Cardinals wow you one week and underwhelm you the next week.
they do.
But they all have good records. So, I mean, they're all possibilities.
And I think you watch poor Russ, and I know let Russ cook, but I think that defense is so bad that he's having to, I saw somebody talk about it like when you're down in a golf tournament, you have to start taking some weird swings. Just, just to try and cut, you're trying to make up strokes. And I think with Russ, like, he's got to push the ball a little harder downfield. They can't play quite the way they want to play because they're so, they know the defense gets out there and they're going to score on them. So.
Well, and your Vikings, now that you picked to win the division, are playing well and coming along.
Slowly but surely.
Except for the hiccup in Dallas 2 weeks ago.
Except for the hiccup in Dallas. And
So
Dallas
we're
is,
watching that one.
yeah. Dallas, they've just been devastated by injuries on that offensive line. I mean, 2 years ago, it was the best young offensive line in football. And now almost every player is either out of position or on the injured reserve list. So it's kind of, what are you going to do? And you lost your quarterback, and, they're just a mess.
But you also look like a team going through the motions.
You do.
You look like a team waiting to go fishing.
I think, like I said, I think if you look at just people in general, like, I know that the problems of this world didn't start in 2020 and they won't end in 2020. But this year's been, with the global pandemic on top of the election, it's just been so stressful. I think some teams, that's affected people.
Oh, I think that's it.
And I know, like, you look at some of the guys in the NBA bubble that looked really good during the regular season, then he came back and just played terrible in the bubble. And whether that was because, like Russ, they had COVID and maybe it had a long-term effect on them, or just the stress of everything, being away from your family and your normal routine. Like, I think there's a lot of that happening.
Well, let's talk a little college football.
Okay.
So Notre Dame, Clemson, Alabama all look solid. Ohio State gives up a lot of points. They score a lot of points, but they give up a lot of points.
Yes.
Which is kind of strange. And, the other, going up till yesterday, it looked like they might not get their games in. Northwestern might win the Big Ten. Now Northwestern lost.
Yeah.
So now you got Northwestern with one loss. I think Indiana with one loss. Ohio State undefeated, but Ohio State has played fewer games. So that's going to be an interesting spot. And then you got, breathing down your necks, you got Florida and Texas A&M. Look like the most obvious picks, although I would give some credibility to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
But I think Cincinnati doesn't get in unless Notre Dame gets blown out by Clemson, or Notre Dame blows Clemson out, and that way gives Clemson 2 losses, both to Notre Dame. I don't think Clemson goes.
Yeah. The worst case scenario for everybody that's not in the top 4 right now is Clemson beats Notre Dame in a very competitive, close game.
Yeah, and then they look like both.
Yeah.
I agree.
Because then, like I said, both those teams are in. Northwestern, you had to just not only win and go undefeated, but put on so many style points to even have a shot, and they lost it, sadly.
Well, unless they're going to win the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Then they were probably going to get in.
But they were never going to play Ohio State, which,
No. And Alabama did miss Saban yesterday, so they rolled on. Trevor Lawrence looked like fine. I watched Game Day yesterday because I love watching Game Day, even though I think Lee Corso should hang it up.
yeah.
But when he started talking about the Pitt Clemson game, he was adamant to take Pitt's points. I think it was 23 points. And I'm thinking, I see Pitt play. Pitt's going to lose this game, but I don't think they'll lose by 23. So I would have actually listened to Corso and taken the points. And then they got manhandled.
Yeah.
52 to 17.
It was not pretty.
No, it wasn't pretty at all. So, and then I watched Notre Dame, North Carolina, which was a good game. And North Carolina is definitely going to be really a team to reckon with the next couple of years because that quarterback's only a sophomore. So I like that. But, I like Iowa State to win the Big 12. Hopefully. I'd like to see that happen. I just want something different other than Texas, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So now Iowa State has beat both Oklahoma and Texas. But Oklahoma's really playing well. And they got some people back that were suspended. So I don't see them losing. I think Oklahoma makes the Big 12 championship game. And I think they beat whoever they play. But neither of them go to the good college football playoff.
It doesn't seem that way.
And then Oregon State beats Oregon the other night. That was a big upset.
Yep.
And they came back from 19 down. I was going to watch the game, and I turned it to like 31, I think 31-19 in the third quarter. And I thought, I'm not going to bother. And then they win at the end of the game with a guy taking his first snap to score the touchdown.
Yeah.
So again, it's been a COVID year. We got all kind of games canceled again last weekend. Who knows how many games will be canceled again this weekend? And then once you start factoring in Thanksgiving holiday college football, it could be really devastating for people that left.
It really could be. I got to see highlights of the weird fight night that happened last night, where we saw Mike Tyson and Roy Jones, both out of shape men near 50, put on an exhibition that was just not fun to watch. I know they made a bunch of money, and supposedly some of the money was going to charity, but the most surprising result of the night, and as I talked to you off air, it probably shouldn't be, but Logan Paul, who is a YouTube sensation who just would go around pranking people, and he's gotten in trouble for doing some very culturally inappropriate and insensitive things over the years, but he knocked out Nate Robinson, who everybody loved as the former football player, New York Knicks guard, Chicago Bulls guard, and just destroyed him, and he got roasted by NBA Twitter. They were not impressed because Nate Robinson said he was doing it for his family, his friends, and of course the rest of the NBA to show them what an athlete was like, which immediately had a bunch of NBA people being like, "No, that's not. We can fight better than that." But to his credit, Logan Paul is, like I said, he is an annoying YouTuber that, like I said, has done some bad things, but he also comes from a lot of money. He's 6'2", like 220 pounds, and he's been training to be a fighter for the last 5 years. So I think people still don't take him seriously. And I think, he called out Conor McGregor and wants to fight him. So, I mean, it'd be nice to see him get knocked out, but I think he's legitimately pretty good. And Nate Robinson found out multiple times.
So my exhibition was Peyton Manning, Stephon Curry, versus Phil Mickelson and Charles Barkley.
Yes.
And Charles Barkley actually contributed. I mean, they ended up playing with the shorter tees and everything else, but instead of having that hideous hitch in his swing, he actually was hitting the ball and putting it in a position where they had to alternate shots. So he didn't hurt Mickelson that badly. One time he put him in the brush, and Mickelson had hit out of the brush. I mean, I couldn't even imagine hitting a golf ball until hit it out. But it was interesting. They raised money for historically black colleges, and it was fun. They were mic'd up, but they'd show it like a long shot of the tee box.
Yeah.
And there would be like 25, 30 people in the tee box.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to figure out why. It's golf, and you're supposed to be socially distancing. So why are you what are you doing? So I was trying to figure out that part, and I had a hard time figuring it out. But it's a beautiful golf course. I wouldn't want to play it. It was one of those target courses in Arizona where you hit off of grass, you hit over the desert, and hope you find the next patch of grass.
Oh.
Yeah, real hard course.
Yeah, Steph Curry.
The NBA schedule would be released this week. At least the first half of the NBA schedule will be released this week.
Yeah.
Which I think is smart because you don't know what you're going to be doing.
No.
So, do the schedule, do some great games. I think you can already probably figure out who's going to be playing on Christmas. I think we'll see the Lakers. I think we'll see the Clippers. I think we'll see the Nets. Might see the Mavericks. Probably see the Heat. And maybe we see Golden State. I don't know.
Or New Orleans, Little Zion Williamson, get him back out there.
That's right. Could see the Pelicans. That's right. We could see the Pelicans.
Or Boston, or Philly. I mean, we got a lot of, there's a lot of good basketball to be played this year. I'm excited.
Yeah, I don't think we'll be seeing the Rockets this year.
It's hard to say. I mean, they could come out in the regular season with some of the moves they made and end up being a little more. They might be that team that that looks like a 3 or a 4 seed, during the regular season, and then who knows if they fall off. But I think they might be surprisingly better than people think.
Okay.
Because they've got the nobody believes in us. I don't think some of the moves they made were that bad. They made some decent moves, so it'd be interesting to see.
Well, I'm interested to see what the Atlanta Hawks come out looking like.
Yes.
They've made a lot of moves, a lot of additions, and I think they've made a lot of really good strengthening moves to surround Trae Young with some real talent. They
did. I think they still have some roster moves to be made, though, because I feel like where you want to play Gallinari, you've got, John. Why can't I think of his name off the top of my head right now? But that other nice young player there, he had sort of playing his position. And then you got Capella. You got some guys that are good on defense, guys that can't play defense at all. It'll be interesting to see how they pull it all together. That's all I want to see.
Yeah. But you figure that's less than a month away.
I know. It is.
I have a food moment.
Oh, that's good, because I don't have a food moment this week.
My food moment was from a restaurant I would have loved to have gone to in Palm Springs. But we had DoorDash do it twice. It's called Il Corso. And the pasta and the salads were amazing. And my favorite thing, and anybody that knows me, this is going to sound weird coming out of my mouth, but my favorite thing I ordered from there was a salad.
That is weird.
It was a tomato, green bean, and burrata salad.
Okay.
And it was delicious. And I ordered it twice.
I would say for DoorDash and, Uber Eats, the Postmates, whatever you're going with, pasta travels pretty well.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. Okay, and I had muscaiola, which is like a northern Italian dish. It's like a brown bolognese sauce with mushrooms in it.
Yeah, like a sauce like that on pasta, like it usually arrives pretty hot, pretty delicious. Like those are.
It was really good. So that would be my recommendation. And my second place was a bakery deli called Sherman's, and the sandwiches were outrageous. But the strawberry shortcake was probably about 12 inches high.
Oh, wow.
And it was really, really good.
Nice.
My food moments, and that one we actually ate outside of the restaurant. Had tables and chairs, all socially distanced. It's like surrounding their building. So using all the sidewalk and grassy areas outside their building. So it was good.
Okay. I finished The Crown, all the entire series, finally.
Okay.
I think it does a good job, if you haven't watched yet, of towing the line between like sort of a classy HBO AMC style show, but it has enough of, betrayal and romance and all that sort of stuff. If you like sort of, I'm just going to use this word, don't take offense to it, more like the trashy TV stuff sort of mixed in. I think it's a pretty honest portrayal. Like it doesn't, there's not a lot of glam. I mean, you get to see how rich they are and everything else, but they're not portrayed in the best possible light. They come off very petulant, kind of worthless. And I would say if you're a fan of Lady Di, maybe don't watch the season because you might not like what you find out about, the person that was sort of worshipped. So again, it's a TV show, so take what you will with it. But if you were hoping to see, some beautiful portrayal of Princess Di, you're not going to get it. You're going to get what comes out more in the books that people talk about her as, a very self-serving, selfish kind of attention hog is what you're going to see. So if that's not what the reality you want to live in, then maybe don't watch.
Okay. Let's see. Last episode of The Undoing tonight. If you haven't watched it, go to HBO on demand and watch it. Last episode of Fargo tonight. Outstanding. Go to FX on demand or Hulu to watch that one.
Yeah.
And I watched 2 episodes of Big Sky, and I'm a big fan of that too.
Okay.
Tuesday nights, ABC, 10 o'clock.
Oh, and I have one more semi recommendation. It's on Hulu currently, but I've noticed, not just this past year, but overall, like I enjoy like the sitcoms I like, whether it's, some of my BBC stuff like the IT Crowd or, the British Office and the American Office at Parks and Recs and those classics. But I noticed in these 6 months of sitting at home and then the 6 weeks of having COVID, like I enjoy a good sitcom. And Hulu has one I had never heard of called Life in Pieces. It does star Colin. Well, it doesn't. It basically, it's just 4 little stories each time about this family, and it has. I know it has Tom Hanks' son Colin Hanks is in it. It has a lot of people you would recognize. It is Brolin's dad is the older man in it. He's not Josh Brolin, right? He's James Brolin.
Yeah, James Brolin.
James Brolin's in it. It's got a pretty nice cast, and it's for a network sitcom. It definitely doesn't come off as it's 4 seasons. I think it's over now. It's only 80 episodes. What is that girl's name? It has Betsy Brandt, who was on Breaking Bad. Who plays the mom? The older woman. Oh, Diane West or Weist. How do you spell her name?
Oh, Diane Weist. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Diane Weist. James Brolin. It's got a pretty nice cast, and like I said, it's a not for a network sitcom. It's pretty good, and it doesn't. It's more mature than and it feels much less like something that's appealing to the Midwestern people in this country, if that makes any sense, as far as sitcoms go. And then, like I said, if you're starving for sitcoms and you have Hulu, I would check it out and see what you think. I did not watch the first season because Maria's been watching it, and I only came in after work one night to do part of the season 2. So I can talk to you about that season on. It was pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll throw a book recommendation. Michael Connelly's new book about the Lincoln lawyer with Harry Bosch was outstanding.
It sounds really good.
Yeah, it was really good. Really well written. Good character development. Michael Connelly he's good. He writes a good story.
He does, without a doubt.
Well, we hope you all had a good Thanksgiving. We hope you stayed safe. Please mask up again and be even more careful now who you're around these next couple of weeks as people probably expand their bubbles and bring other people in. So be careful.
Yeah. And again, there's at least 3 vaccines people are very positive about. And, most of the credible scientific world thinks that, between this time next year and February of next year, things should be back to normal, which I know is a long time away, but, just...
Let's hope and pray.
Let's hope, let's, and just, suck it up for the last little bit.
All right. And remember, it's Cyber Monday, but it's also nice to spend money locally.
Yeah, and I would say...
It's Small Business Saturday, but you just continue that trend as much as you can, help these people out.
And if you're looking for Christmas ornaments, I know Hallmark makes some cool stuff. But go to Etsy. And, if you want a Pokemon ornament or a Christmas Story ornament, there's somebody on Etsy that's making that homemade. And they make Christmas tree skirts and like everything you would want for this season.
Oh, yeah, I saw a bunch of their ads this past week.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. I saw they took a drawing and made a doll out of it.
Yeah, and I don't know the legality of...
Himself and sent to his grandparents. Had made a doll out of that. That's pretty cool stuff.
Right. And like I said, even if you see an artist and you enjoy something they've done, contact the artist and tell them what you want. Because, again, you'll get something unique and new, and it's supporting somebody that doesn't have Jeff Bezos' money. So, yeah. And again, it's Etsy, or you probably know somebody that does something that, you probably ignore their Facebook posts where they're asking you to support their art career, and maybe this is a good time to do it. So,